Hi there, welcome to, excuse me, I Alone Fly Tarot. I'm going to do a tarot card reading for Libra energy. And we're going to get these cards out, then I'm going to shuffle the Intuit deck, see what that wants to add, and at the end, we're going to see what would be a possible outcome for people depending on if they harness a more high vibrational Libra energy or more worldly or shadowy Libra energy. We've all got free will, and life's about learning lessons and tempering your more shadow nature, which can be your more immature, prideful, egotistical, lazy, self-centered, codependent. The list goes on. And life's about learning lessons in order to work together with people cooperatively from love, where you treat other people in a just and fair way, in a way that you like to be treated, and you kind of grow up and mature yourself. But we've all been there to some degree or another, and sometimes it can be the first 30, 40 years of some people's lives until they kind of get out of being so caught up in the things of the world they make important in their life, or get out of their more ego nature and realize that love is what makes it all worthwhile. But some people kind of never do, because they're more about themselves, or more about what they want to indulge in, or their status or ego or money or something is the most important thing in their life. And we all, in our Libra energy, we have our truth of what we think is just and fair, and probably a way of living life that maybe makes us feel stable. And if we were ready to move forward in life differently, we would. And until we're ready, we won't. So the truth sets us free. We just need to see, is our truth the same as other people's truth? Is what drives and motivates us what drives and motivates other people? And if their truth is different, wish them peace and go on about your life. So we're going to read this from a couple different perspectives, because how people will be harnessing this energy in their Libra energy will be different, kind of depending on how they view themselves and the world. So we have a card not showing itself, and it says, take a walk in nature today and consciously connect with Mother Earth. So with the mountains and the water and talking about going for a walk in nature kind of reminds me of Virgo energy, where we take that time alone to self-reflect and heal. But some people reject that. Some people have been doing that, and other people don't know it. The reason it came out is because take the time you need to feel into the situation and then give it your best response. So people are going to be taking action in the world based on what their truth is. They've either done this inner work or they haven't. If you haven't been enlightened to the truth, you're going to keep repeating a pattern. We'll keep repeating the same way of living life, viewing life, doing life, coping mechanisms, if we haven't seen that maybe that doesn't work out the way that we wanted it to. And we can stay in denial of the truth and keep doing the same thing over and over, or we learn lessons in life. I view this card as the overarching reason for the reading, which is the Five of Swords, air sign energy like Libra, except this is Aquarius energy. And again, it can have to do with what our truth is. Aquarius energy is also represented by the Star card. What's our dream? Is it to heal from our mental conflict? Are we willing to do that inner work, to work through our mental conflict, to move forward in truth and love and justice and fairness and love ourselves? Or are we going to keep staying in our mental conflict and think the answer is something other than love? Maybe looking like a shining star in the world, making it all about us, being the center of attention. If I make it all about me, I'm sure I'll be happy. The card after that, though, is the Ten of Pentacles, which is Virgo energy. Some people don't want to deal with the truth. High Vibe Virgo is about dealing with the truth. And some people don't want to live their life any differently. They could find it very stable and abundant, or being more about them, unwilling to change, money and materialism or indulgence. And they're sure that is going to make them happy. It might give them a lot of things in the world, but maybe not truth and love. So, and other people are the opposite. They are looking at life from a higher perspective. They are putting in this work and effort to heal and grow and mature themselves, to deal with the truth of situations, because living life the way they've been living it is causing everybody some mental conflict. But who's willing to move forward in truth and love and have some hope and faith and belief in themselves and in other people? And who isn't? So what's going on in Libra energy? We have the Ace of Pentacles. The reason is because of the Two of Swords, Libra energy. Everybody's going to move forward in life based on their truth and how they view life. Some people want to stay in denial of the truth. Some are stuck. Some can't decide what they want to do. Other people are listening to their intuition. They have done this inner work, willing to detach. After the Ten of Pentacles, the Tens in Tarot can talk about completing a cycle. And if people are willing to say, you know what, I lived my life a certain way, I viewed my life a certain way, I viewed life a certain way, and I've learned the lessons I was meant to learn from it, then they're willing to detach from an old way of living life in the Ace of Pentacles to have a brand new beginning. When we learn the lessons we're meant to learn at one phase of life, we move to the next phase of life. Some people could have a lot of mental conflict of moving forward in life differently, and that's why they're not doing it. There might be some old way of living life, viewing life, that they would have to detach from. And they're not willing to do that. Some of them, it's just becoming more independent from things that manipulate them. And they're not willing to do that yet. And other people are willing. They've listened to their intuition about what manipulates them. I don't like my own fear and insecurity manipulating me, my more worldly nature, my more codependent nature. I want to free myself, because high vibe energy is about being free, not manipulated. So then we have the Justice card, the King of Pentacles, and the reason that came out is because of the Nine of Swords. And the Nine of Swords is Gemini energy, which has to do with our dualistic nature. What is our truth? What drives and motivates us? And for some people, they prefer, Gemini is also air sign energy. I prefer to live more from my mind than my heart. I think that is what will make me feel stable and get me the justice I want. I might not want to connect in with my emotions and my more hopeful, believing, loving nature. I think it's just and fair to make my life about the world or me or these things I indulge in. And other people have seen the truth. And they've gotten balance within themselves. They've offset their fear, their insecurity, their immature, prideful nature with love and compassion and forgiveness. They're being like a good parent to themselves. And I view the King of Pentacles as Capricorn energy. Shadowy Capricorn energy is more represented by the devil. All these things that manipulate us. High vibe people want to be free. High vibe Virgo is about, I want to be free. I want to be more independent of my own shadow nature and people in my life and in the world who try to manipulate me in some way. And the high vibe people are staying focused in the Nine of Swords on truth and love to guide the decisions they make. The other people, it might be being up in their head about love, or their fear, or their insecurity, or their pride, or their ego, or their lust, or their greed is kind of driving the decisions in their life. And everybody's going to do what, based on how they view life, what they think is just and fair. And then we have this card not showing itself, and the reason it came out is because of the Hermit, which is Virgo energy. What is it? The Ten of Swords. Well, some people don't want to close out a cycle. They want to get out of their head, They want to quit feeling stuck, but they're not willing to complete a cycle. I want to hide. I don't. The truth sets us free. Virgo in high vibe and Gemini is about truth and love, being just and fair, loving yourself, believing in yourself, healing, growing, maturing yourself. Those are all the things that when we're going to move forward in life differently, we have to face our fears and we have to detach from the past and things that used to manipulate us. And some people are like, I'm not ready yet. And they're hoping to maybe hide that they do kind of backstab and betray themselves. They also, in turn, then might backstab and betray other people. If they have people in their life who are aligned with their more hopeful, believing, loving nature, and if they want to be in a relationship with them, and they're in a relationship with them right now, sometimes shadowy people do some shadowy things to try to make the people in their life not love and believe in themselves. They might invest in taking some action to try to put other people up in their head and be in a mental prison. Because I don't want you to keep dealing with your own mental conflict and reflecting on the truth or healing. I want you to stop that, so I'm going to take some action to try to stop you from investing your energy in that. I want you to stop doing that, and I'm going to try to cause you mental conflict so that you'll maybe be more focused on what I'm doing or not doing, which isn't being truthful and honest and just and fair, so that you'll have this mental conflict about this job, this friendship, this relationship. And that's difficult when we're in a relationship with people who we invested in, that we thought were more emotionally stable, grounded, loving, just, fair. And then they could do these things that, why are you acting like that? Why are you doing that? Why do you seem to be so defensive to the truth? Why are you defensive to love? Why are you defensive to being more just and fair? Or investing in this situation in a more loving way? And it's like, because they don't want to do it that way. They want to do it their way, which in our free will, you're either being just, fair, truthful, honest, authentic, supportive, encouraging, knowing how to work together with other people to bring a dream into reality, or they might want the dream and the relationship to work out. And just like a job, people might want people to stay working at that job, but they just have they lack self-insight. And they might not want to see the truth. If they were to see the truth, from the Nine of Swords to the Ten of Swords, in Virgo energy, do some inner work within themselves to be enlightened to the truth of how they might think it is just and fair to be hurtful or unkind or unjust or unfair, or more about themselves or something. And they refuse to close out a cycle. I refuse to let go of this certain way of acting or living life. And then they're kind of hoping that the people in their life will have all this mental conflict about the fact that their dream isn't coming into reality. And hoping that people will stay in the job, the friendship, or the relationship anyway. And people can do that for a long time in a relationship. Loving, hopeful, believing people can keep offering resources in the Ace of Pentacles. Even though they feel stuck, they keep putting in work and effort. Virgo energy is about putting in work and effort. They keep putting in work and effort to maintain balance in a workplace, friendship, relationship. They keep maintaining balance within themselves, and high vibe Capricorn energy that they harness. They're putting in work and effort to make something victorious and successful. But eventually there can come a time when people realize, I'm putting in work and effort to bring a dream into reality based on truth and love and justice and emotional maturity. And it seems like the other person, that isn't kind of what they're doing. And eventually some of the high vibe people in their life could wonder why. Why do we keep repeating the same pattern? I thought, the fives can talk about change. I thought over time things would change. I did think people were going to work through some of their fears or their insecurities or their more immature ways or bossy ways or being more caught up in money or materialism or self-indulgence or something, but it keeps never happening. And so then they start to do this work within themselves about why isn't anything ever changing here, And the whole thing is, the only person we can change is ourselves. We can offer people love and encouragement. We can treat other people in a just and fair way, a loving way, with respect and all that good stuff. And some people are just like, this is like someone in their Virgo hermit energy. Someone's trying to offer them like the fruits of the Spirit, which is, it's a thing in the Bible that talks about the fruits of the Spirit. Patience, self-discipline, peace and love and things like that. But the other person's like, no, like, get away from me. That's not my truth. And eventually, the high vibe people in their life kind of complete a cycle. And they've kind of been enlightened to the truth that what I'm driven and motivated by is different than what some other people in my life are driven and motivated by. And the whole thing is, with our dualistic nature that we have people in our life who do align more with our high vibrational energy. It can just be nice, friendly, kind, respectful people out in the world and at the workplace or something in the neighborhood. And then we have people in our life who align with our more shadowy energy. And we can have different types of people in our life that want us to be friends with them, hang out with them, be in relationship with them. And if there's something within us that is not wanting to see the truth, because we have mental conflict maybe of being more independent, because high vibe Virgo's about being independent. High vibe energy in general is about being more independent. Some people could be afraid of becoming more independent of a foundation, even though it causes a mental conflict. Again, if that's a friend group or a workplace or a family or a romantic relationship. Some people are going to stay moving forward in kind of a mismatched relationship because until they work through that mental conflict, am I willing to give up my dreams and kind of settle for something that I could, in a lot of worldly ways, with the Justice card and the King of Pentacles, things can look very successful, stable, grounded, abundant in a lot of ways, what a lot of people would want for in the world. But are we hiding that we feel backstabbed and betrayed? But we're unwilling to get out of that job or relationship? Because then it would mean we'd kind of have to harness that energy within ourselves independently, be more self-sufficient than looking to that group or that job or something or that relationship to provide us with that sense of balance and stability. And that's kind of what people have to work through. If they're going to become independent of a foundation, I have to invest in getting balance within myself. Again, being like my own best mother, father, coach voice in my head. Like being a good parent to myself. Honey, you have a dream. You're staying in something where you're kind of hiding. You feel backstabbed and betrayed. Why do you stay in situations that make you feel backstabbed and betrayed? We all, in our more worldly nature, are tempted by those things of the world, and we want community, and we want friendships, and we want relationships, and we probably need a source of income to have a job, right? And we can all be, our shadow nature, our more worldly nature is represented by kind of the devil. All these things that try to tempt us to give up on our dreams. And maybe to stay in situations hoping other people will change. And if we've been offering love and truth and encouragement to people and they keep not changing and keep being motivated and inspired by their truth, which can be different than your truth, eventually it's to see the truth. The only person I can change is me. And if I feel backstabbed and betrayed, and I have a lot of mental conflict living my life like this, if other people are happy living their life that way, or staying at that job, or acting that way in the world, maybe at one time I did too. But the whole thing is, we come in contact with all these different people and have all these life experiences to help us get more clear about our truth. And Libra energy, I view it as being represented by the King of Swords. Am I willing to stand up for my truth? And that can take, we kind of got to get clear about what our truth is and what our truth isn't. And, to be willing to stand up for ourselves and what we believe in. And for some people, that's what they're doing. And then these cards here that aren't showing themselves can kind of represent what some high vibe people are doing within themselves, and with the cards not showing themselves, other people don't know that you're doing this work within yourself, or that you did do this work within yourself. And it's kind of to see how you kind of could have aligned with these energies in a more worldly, shadowy way. And then when you were in that energy, you were aligning more with people who are in their own degree of kind of more worldly, shadowy energy. And when you work through your mental conflict about you and your issues that kind of kept you in a more shadowy or codependent or worldly focused energy, when you work through that, you have learned all these lessons. And from starting out in the 1 pentacle to the 10 pentacles, during this process, you became the 9 of pentacles, which is harnessing high vibe Virgo energy of knowing your worth and value, growing and healing and maturing yourself, learning all these lessons from all these life experiences about what your truth is and what your truth isn't. And then as you do that work within yourself, and you detach from harnessing these energies in a more shadowy way, you naturally kind of quit hanging out more with the people in your life that harness those energies in a more worldly, shadowy energy, because you've changed. That's not a foundation and a way of living life that you find abundant and fulfilling anymore. You might have at one time, but isn't that how it goes in life? You're age 18, you're age 21, you're age 25. Yeah, when we turned those ages and we were living life that way, yeah, this is great. I can't wait to live my life like that. And then we live our life like that. But there comes a time where it's kind of like our intuition is telling us, this phase of life is over. We've kind of learned what we needed to learn here. And if we keep kind of resisting going with the flow of life, of facing our fears to move forward in life and take on more responsibility, shed some of our more immature ways of viewing life, it's going to keep causing us mental conflict, because it's kind of like that phase is over and you're meant to take the lessons you learn from it with you, face your fears to go have a new beginning, to go get the justice you deserve. In the King of Pentacles, high vibe Capricorn, where you keep freeing yourself from your more immature worldly nature to like grow to your full potential. Feeling proud of yourself that you didn't let your fear and your immature nature and all those things kind of backstab kind of like your higher self and your more wise and insightful self. And so right now, there could be some people in some mismatched situations in their life, or, you know, they have some high vibe people in their life, some more shadowy people in their life, and they're really trying to deal with their mental conflict, maybe about becoming more independent. So then we have the King of Swords, the Five of Cups, the Knight of Wands, and the Emperor. So in high vibe, the Emperor is about learning all these lessons where we have our heart, our mind, our worldly nature, our creative, inspired, passionate nature. And at different times in our life, we could let our worldly nature more run our life. We could let our mind more run our life. We could have let our more loving nature run our life. Our more passionate or impulsive nature run our life, or a mix of one, two, or three of them. But there could have been, you know, we've got to go out on these journeys to learn all these lessons. And then if we learn all those lessons, it's like, I've learned that all four of these aspects of me are important, and not one is more important than the other. If I make one more important, or two or three of them more important than the other, what about the ones I'm ignoring? But I am someone who has my truth and my thinking and my logic and my intelligence, my heart and my mind and my loving nature, my worldly nature of stability and security is also important, and my unique talent, skills, and interests, and my career and my dreams, and then my more passionate, emotionally fiery nature, you know, they're all important. And so some people could be wondering, why do I turn my back? Because this being like the King of Swords can be like someone, and this is an elderly emotional figure, and maybe in a wheelchair, not doing so well. This image is in another picture of the deck also. Actually in the Three of Swords, which is Libra energy, where we have heart and mind conflict. And we kind of might be defensive to love or loving ourselves. So it's kind of like we have a harsh, critical, emotional inner voice. And we have to learn to stand up to our own shadow nature. And we also then might have people in our life who try to make us focus on them, but maybe they're not very just or fair or loving. You know, we have to be willing to stand up to that within ourselves. Why do I turn my back on change? Because again, the Five of Cups is change. This could represent with the fire down here that we previously were more fired up about things of the world than in the higher position, listening to our more emotionally intuitive, loving nature. The Five of Cups can talk about regrets of the past. Why don't I work through those regrets of the past? I do have regrets from the past. I could have past pain and heartbreak from things I've done, from things other people have done to me. The Knight of Wands is Sagittarius energy. Why am I not taking inspired action to deal with those issues of the past to make better decisions in my life? You know, learn the lessons I was meant to learn so that I can change. I can't change other people, but the truth is I can change. And if during my life of going through these life experiences, I have changed. I'm not the same person I was before. There could have been a lot of things in the Two of Swords of Libra energy in the past. The Two of Swords can be like you weren't clear about what your truth was. You felt stuck. Or I was kind of in denial of the truth. Virgo energy can talk about how we didn't even know there was things hidden in the dark that we needed to deal with. We didn't even realize how some of those things, maybe from our past pain and heartbreak, other people in our life who didn't work with us cooperatively in love, how all those things kind of affected how we felt about ourselves, how stable and grounded we felt, how abundant we felt within ourselves, if we valued ourselves, if we appreciated ourselves. Why don't I? I have free will. Why don't I work through those issues of the past? And then the whole thing of looking at the past is that everybody in life has their free will to decide what they think is important to them. What's more important, what's less important. And we've all been in friendships and family dynamics and workplaces where, you know, some people could like to present themselves as very just and fair and balanced and stable, and maybe in a lot of ways they were, but maybe they lived more from their mind than their heart, and maybe kind of not lack some self-insight to realize that maybe they never dealt with some of their issues, and so then they keep repeating old patterns. And everybody's, you know, in tarot you hear about breaking generational curses. You know, I was a child, I grew up, I had these experiences. My parents were a child, they grew up and had their experiences. Is everybody never going to deal with their issues from the past to free themselves from it? So, well, these people were unkind to me, I'm going to be unkind to you. Other people hurt me, I'm going to shut down, I'm not going to do love. So then, you know, it just keeps going and going. When is someone going to be a leader in the world, which is what high vibe Emperor energy talks about, that I'm going to stand up for myself and what I believe in my dreams. And just because I could have dealt with people in the world who weren't enlightened to the truth, hid their more authentic, loving nature out of fear, insecurity, or past pain and heartbreak, I'm not going to do that anymore. I accept that everyone was where they were at. They were acting out of their own shadow nature, fear, pain, whatever. Okay. I'm not going to let that stop me from believing in my dreams, like they could have let the world and people in their life stop them from being a more just and fair and emotionally mature and loving, insightful person who stood up for the truth and changed and worked through their regrets of the past so that they could be inspired to be a good leader in their own life and in their friendships, in their romantic relationships, and in their workplaces and in the world. I choose to be that type of person. That's the type of person I want to be. And if I have people in my life that want me to stay in a workplace or friendship of some sort with them, but they want to keep living more from their mind than their heart, hiding their more authentic, loving, high vibrational nature, that's fine. They can do that. But I am going to tell them that I'm sad, that I do not feel like they work together with me. The Five of Cups is Scorpio energy, emotional water sign. I want to be in deep, meaningful, authentic, loving relationships. And I don't feel like you work together with me in that way. And I feel like I'm missing an opportunity in love. And I don't want to live a life where I have a lot of mental conflict and I could feel like people are maybe more about themselves or wanting me to stay here, other than having my best interests in mind of being loving and encouraging and supportive of me, like I am being loving and encouraging and supportive of them. Love is to be just and fair. You are supposed to treat other people the way you like to be treated. And I don't feel like our truth is the same. And I am inspired to make better decisions in my life. And I have decided I am going to change. And I am going to offer those resources and that truth to the people in my life. Do you want to be in a more just and fair and emotionally mature, stable, grounded, loving relationship? And if some of the people in my life turn their back on doing this work within themselves, then I will wish you peace and I will move on. Because apparently what drives and motivates us and our truth and what we think is just and fair is different. And I'm going to go find the people and make offers to people in the world who I do think, like going and getting a new job, meeting new people, to go get the justice I deserve. I don't want to stay in situations that look just and fair and stable and all those things, but they're really not. You either really are authentic and just and fair and kind of walk the talk, or you just create the illusion in the world that you're that type of person, but really, you're not. You want to stay in denial of the truth. Well, I want to present myself as being that type of person, and I want to look like I'm this just and fair leader in the world that makes good decisions, but I really don't. It's really more about me, or I want it to look like this, and I want people to stay here, but it's more because of me and my ego and my image, and I think this is just and fair, but I'm not authentic and loving and actually walking the talk, and I'm maybe not even motivated by love. I just want to look victorious and successful in the world. That's the most important thing. And other people are like, well, you're going to have to go find someone else to go get in a relationship with if that's the most important thing. Because I feel like I'm missing an opportunity in love. If I'm going to work together with people, I want there to be truth and love and respect. So some people have already done that work. Other people are in the process of doing that work. When people have kind of went through that process, they did have to let go of an old job or foundation to have this new beginning. And the high vibe people are listening to their intuition. They're doing this work to stay focused on truth and love, to maintain balance within themselves and make stable, grounded decisions in their life and who they invest their time, energy, and effort into. I have learned these lessons that certain people are bossy, controlling, immature, impulsive, reckless, egotistical, whatever. I don't want to be in relationships with people like that. And I'm not going to keep investing my time, energy, and effort into people like that. I am going to invest my time, energy, and effort into people who I think don't live more from their mind than their heart, who are, high vibe Virgo would be about being more balanced within yourself, self-awareness, self-insight, maturity, stable, grounded, pays attention to the details in life instead of being in denial. People who I think have that wisdom. And for some of you, you could have communicated your truth to some people. The Justice card, maybe we could kind of look at that as the King of Swords, which holds one sword of truth. From the 1 to the 5 is the 4 of Swords, about healing situations and just and fair and balanced relationships. You might have communicated to some people that not everybody knows about, that, and when you learn lessons in life, I think high vibe people get out of their pride and ego about it. I had lessons to learn. I was immature. I got caught up in this or whatever. And they could communicate to other people in their life, I'm sorry. And that's the difference. High vibe people are willing to get out of their ego. You have to get out of your ego to be willing to learn lessons. That's why some people won't move forward. They're unwilling to admit they are a fallible human being who made some mistakes, who has some lessons to learn, and they'd just rather not deal with it. No, I'm just not going to deal with it. And they're going to be kind of stuck repeating an old pattern over and over and over, because the truth sets you free. Other people communicate the truth in love. And they communicate it to people in the world who they think are more on the same page as them. And let people know I've changed. I'm not the same person I was before. If you are someone who I think is on the same page as me, whether I knew you before or not, are we on the same page? Is your truth the same as my truth, that we're both kind of have healed and grown and learned certain types of lessons, that we're kind of on the same page, that we could have a long-term, stable relationship with each other? Or if it's people that you know from your past that, you know, you could have gotten out of friendships or relationships or never gotten in friendships or relationships with them because you were off learning your lessons. And now it's like, gee, I kind of realized you were probably more of a person who is really more on the same page as me than I realized. But we've all got lessons to learn in life, and we've got to make decisions. And some people could apologize to some people that I think you were really more on the same page as me the whole time. I just wasn't seeing it because of maybe my own past pain and heartbreak, or being more bold and brave and confident within myself to step out of my comfort zone and be more independent, or get out of being more caught up in the world or something, you know? And some of those people will move forward with us. Some of those people won't. If you communicated with some people, now some of those people are having to work through their own mental conflict. And from the 9 of Swords down to the 5 of Swords, it's letting go of the 4 of Swords, which everybody, for the first 30, 40 years of your life, can make your life thinking in the 4 of Swords Libra energy that it is more just and fair to make my life about these things of the world, because that's kind of the phase of life we were in. And in tarot, they talk about that as being like in your south node. And then as you get older in life, in your more fiery energy, you're kind of more motivated and inspired, and in Aquarius energy, to look at life from a higher perspective. All these things that I thought was so important and that I could have made my life about and that I indulged in, you know, I just look at life differently now. You know, I'm not the same person I was then. And some people are. But other people did learn some lessons in life and grow and heal and mature themselves. And they're not the same person they were before. And other people that we could have known and that we meet, you know, the people who did this work within themselves to stand up to their own shadow nature and say, you know, I'm not going to let my fear, my insecurity, my immature nature, my superficial, shallow nature, being about myself nature, caught up in the things of the world, run my life anymore. Because I feel like I missed out on an opportunity to live a more creative, inspired, authentic, loving life. Because I gave up those things for the things of the world that kind of consume me. But now I'm not that person anymore. And I'm going to stand up to my shadow nature and other people in my life and just tell them this is how I'm moving forward. If you want to move forward with me in this way, you can. But the only people who are moving forward that I want to invest my time, energy, and effort into are other people who've changed. Other people who aren't still in mental conflict about the truth that is supposed to be about love and justice and fairness and growing and healing and maturing yourself and working through some of your past pain and heartbreak so you can let it go. And there's some people in the world that are like, nope, I'm not doing that. That is not my truth. I have free will. That is not my truth. That's not how I want to live my life. And some of those people are hiding that they still live more from their mind than their heart in their Libra energy. I do have regrets in the past. I don't want to deal with it. I might kind of be tempted to want to be more bold and brave and confident in the world, to be more independent of the world and my ego and other people in my life, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to keep living life the way I've lived it, maybe make my life more about conforming to the world, and that's just and fair. I'll have a certain status and image in the world. I'll look victorious and successful by worldly standards. I just didn't grow to my full potential. I maybe didn't make decisions that were best for everyone involved. I kind of might have made decisions that were best for me. Because some people really are just all about themselves. And some people have a lot of fear of love secretly. And then they could try to get in a relationship with someone else. And if that person is on the same page as them, and they also have mental conflict about being more independent, loving and believing in themselves, being more independent of their worldly ego, fearful nature, whatever it is, then those people might move forward with them. They might have a new beginning and get in a long-term relationship with some of those people. Some shadowy people, though, they don't want to temper their ego or their immature nature, self-indulgent nature, or whatever it is. But they like to be in relationships with people who are more free from those things, who are kind of more stable and grounded and loving and hopeful and believing. And just hope that if they can get those people to take that job and come work for them, or get in a friendship or relationship or a marriage with them, they're hoping that at some future time, even when those people find out the truth, because they have mental conflict of standing up for themselves and detaching from it, that they'll stay in it anyway. And then that works for the shadowy people. This works out great. Look, I snagged a nice, kind, just, fair person who puts in all this work and effort, and I get to be immature or emotionally detached or all about myself or bossy or controlling or whatever. Isn't that great? Look at me. I look like a shining star, like I got what other people got. And I didn't even have to do love authentically. If you're not being truthful and honest, in shadowy energy, you're kind of trying to manipulate someone to get them to do what you want, creating an illusion about who you are, so they will keep staying in a relationship with you, when that isn't being someone who wants to be just and fair and emotionally mature, or even maybe bring a dream into reality, like, oh, one day it'll be a more formal commitment, or one day we'll get married. But for some, they're hiding the truth that they don't ever plan to do that. That's not their truth. And until the people in their life see the truth of it and stand up for themselves, that, if we're not going to work cooperatively to bring a dream into reality, I've worked through these things within myself that tempt me to stay. But every day I stay is another day I'm not putting in work and effort to be open to creating the life of my dreams. Because my dreams can only come into reality with people who are motivated and inspired by the same truth that I have. So I think there's people getting in new beginnings. High vibe people are looking to be in a relationship with other high vibe people. Some shadowy people are trying to find someone who they think might be on the same page as them, motivated and inspired by whatever kind of motivates and inspires them to some degree. Or trying to manipulate a loving person who just has mental conflict because they're sad, because something they had to become independent of. Like something didn't work out the way they wanted. And they're hoping that they can tempt those people by these things of the world, or their looks or their charm or whatever they got going on, male or female, to turn their back on making good decisions in their life. And then it's like the devil can trap someone, right? And some of them already gotten those new beginnings, and now the people they're in a relationship with are starting to wonder if I should stay in this relationship or not, or if I should end it. And they're having to do this work within themselves. And we can have people, we could have had to become independent of something because other people were trying to backstab and betray us, trying to make us stop loving and believing in ourselves, or just being very hurtful and unkind, and they thought it was just and fair because they justify looking at life that way. As people go through becoming more independent, they get out of feeling backstabbed. They get over it. And they did this work within themselves, and they've changed, and they're very abundant and stable at the end of it. And now, some of the people who either thought, well, if I backstab and betray you, or I'm hurtful or unkind, I bet you won't love and believe in yourself, and maybe thought you'd come back and make them an offer to get back in a relationship with them. And you did this inner work, though, and you're like, well, this person didn't act just and fair. This person didn't act with character and integrity. This person didn't walk the talk. And you're like, no, I don't want to be in relationships with people who treat me like that. That's not how loving people treat other loving people. And though I could have love for them, I'm not going to. They're trying to use the love that you have for them to manipulate you. And I don't like to be manipulated by people. Loving people don't try to manipulate me. And I see the truth of it. And because you've changed and you keep moving forward and you're very abundant and stable within yourself, balanced within yourself, again, making very stable and grounded within yourself, making good decisions in your life, now some of those very people are hiding that they have mental conflict because they didn't work together with you cooperatively. But probably because they're too prideful to admit that they were bossy or controlling or immature or whatever, you're going to move on. They're going to keep hiding the truth, keep having this mental conflict, and then think, well, I'll just go get in a relationship with someone else. And I'll hide the truth that I backstabbed and betrayed those people because those people changed. They loved and believed in themselves, and they wanted me to change and be more independent. And I have things that the world that manipulates me, my mind, my fear, other people in my life that manipulate me, and I'm not willing to stand up for myself and be more independent. So those things manipulate me. I'll just go try to find someone else, hide the truth, and try to get that person to move forward with me in a relationship. And we'll repeat this pattern all over again. So what's coming up for some people who harness some high vibe Libra energy that they might not see coming up? Oh, and then you cut out people in your life that harness this energy in a shadowy way. In their Libra energy, they do have these issues from the past that they don't deal with, or they could just be people who don't work together cooperatively with people from love, or are more emotionally shallow and superficial, who are kind of immature, a little bit more about being themselves, or being about themselves, or more driven about looking like a boss in the world is the most important thing. And when you kind of detach from harnessing these energies in whatever shadowy way you did, you detach from those people, and you are willing to cut those people out of your life. The other people, they have people in their life that harness these energies in a shadowy way, but they're not willing to cut those people out of their life or reject that aspect within themselves to harness these in a more high vibrational way. And you were. So what's coming up for the people who harness some high vibe Libra energy that they might not see coming up? I think you've had some new beginnings at reaping what you've sown. And if you haven't gotten in new jobs, friendships, and relationships, you're investing in aligning with that energy, offering truth and love to people. And I think it is saying, you know, you will align with and meet people if you don't know them already, or someone you've already made that offer to. There's going to be other people in the world that see you're in that energy and want to be in a relationship with you. So what's coming up? The Seven of Cups and the Queen of Wands. Why? Because of the Two of Cups and the Seven of Swords. So in high vibe, the Queen of Wands, the queens can talk about how we think and feel. You were confused, but you offered love to the situation, and you listened to your intuition, and you kept things in perspective. You had hope and faith and belief in your dreams. You looked at life from a higher perspective. And because of that, it helped you be illuminated to the truth, because I view the Queen of Wands as Leo energy, which is also represented by the sun, which is being illuminated to the truth. And you worked through all the emotional confusion and illusion of people that you thought at one time were more just and fair and stable and grounded and insightful. And in a lot of ways they could have been. But, you know, if people keep having these issues that they don't deal with, you can be in a relationship with someone for a long time until it kind of gets to that point in the relationship where that is kind of the last thing between the 9 and the 10 that kind of needs to be reconciled and worked through. And that can be when they're like, nope, that is the last truth of something that I'm not willing to negotiate. And it could be that some people have these illusions about what it means to be in a relationship, and they try to emotionally confuse people that they operate more from their ego, and that they really do live more from their mind than their heart, and they really don't want to more emotionally, authentically invest in people. And it's more about indulging themselves in a relationship. And it's not really about love, because they maybe have a lot of fear about really doing love. And in order to do love, they'd have to work through some of these issues from their past that stop them from doing love. And they just would rather not do it and don't want to do it. So you see through the illusion, love, looking at life from a higher perspective, offering love and compassion and forgiveness to yourself and other people in your life helped you move on from the people who like to create illusions in relationships. And you listened to your intuition, and your intuition told you if you didn't get out of there, it wasn't going to turn out the way you wanted. And you listened to your intuition, and you invested in loving yourself. You changed. They didn't change. They're going to repeat an old pattern, and you're going to move forward in life and have a brand new beginning. So what's coming up for the people who are going to repeat an old pattern? Because you can't move, you can try to fake like I'm more emotionally mature and stable and grounded than I am, which is what some of these people have already been doing. But, you know, you can't, other people have their intuitive nature, and they can wear whatever false mask they want, present themselves in the world whatever way they want. But high vibe people who listen to their intuition can sense something's not right, that this isn't, you aren't who you say you are. And that's what really could cause them a lot of mental conflict. And they wish other people would quit listening to their intuition. But our intuition, kind of the Two of Swords in the Seven of Swords, here we have the Two of Swords, people invested in listening to their intuition. If I want these just and fair and emotionally mature, stable, grounded relationships, but I get in a relationship from the 2 to the 9 of Swords is that 7 of Swords in shadow. It's people who are trying to confuse you about the truth of who they are. They try to present themselves as harnessing high vibe energy, but they don't. And eventually other people listen to their intuition, and though they're sad, they wanted a dream to come into reality with those people, but the truth is those people aren't who they said they were. And your dream can't come into reality with someone who's not in high vibe Leo energy, being authentic, loving, having hope and faith and belief in love. It's people who try to create the illusion of that so loving people will move forward with them in a relationship, but that's not the truth of who they are. So what's coming up for the people who are more worldly or shadowy? We have the Ace of Cups and the King of Swords not showing itself. And the reason is because of the Knight of Cups. Shadowy people reject the truth, and they hide from people that they harness a more worldly, shadowy Libra energy. My truth is different than your truth. What I think is just and fair is probably different than what you think is just and fair. I want to emotionally invest. Shadowy Pisces, I want to create an illusion. I want to indulge in a relationship. I don't want to see the truth that I am maybe tipped out of balance in what I think is just and fair. I don't want to see the truth. I reject the truth. And I'm going to hide that I kind of reject the truth. I love the illusion of love. I like being in a relationship, and it's great. I get to be in a relationship. It feels wonderful. It might make me feel more stable and secure, make me feel more, that's the difference. People can get in relationships to feel all these things. Then if the relationship doesn't work out, then they have all this mental conflict because they really haven't done that work within themselves to be that type of person within themselves. And they look to get in relationships to make it look like they have the traits and qualities and characteristics and have learned some of the same lessons that some other people in the world have learned. But they haven't. But by getting in relationships with other people, it can be like, look, I healed. Look, I moved on. Look, I'm not the same person I was before. It's like, yes, you are. You are the same person because you still reject the truth. All the things that kind of manipulated you before still manipulate you. The past pain and heartbreak you haven't dealt with still manipulates you. The people in your life that manipulate you still manipulate you. You're just trying to create an illusion that you've changed, but you haven't. And eventually other people in your life are going to listen to their intuition and work through the illusion and the confusion that you seem like that type of person, but that's really not the truth of who you are. Completely more aligned with living from their mind, all a mental construct of trying to create this illusion about life, not turning their back on being more creative, inspired in their life to let love and intuition guide their decisions. No, don't do that. That could be dangerous. I could get myself involved in a situation. I could get in a situation involved in love. I could get hurt. I can't get hurt. I view the King of Swords can be like a person's really self-protective nature. You can't go out there in the world. You could get hurt. So then it's kind of like their ego running their life. And that's what some people are hiding. Their ego runs their life. Their self-defensive, overprotective nature. I can't let my more hopeful, believing, loving nature out in the world. They might get hurt. So I just create the illusion of love so people will get in a relationship with me. But I don't really do love. Love deceitfully. And the high vibe people in their life already saw through the illusion and they listened to their intuition and moved away. And some of them are going to do that now. And then these people will go try to create an illusion with someone else. But before they get out of the relationship, they might try to secretly do things to backstab and betray the other person if they know that person is at that point where they're starting to maybe stand up for themselves and really want the dream to come into reality. Well, somehow I got to figure out a way to end this relationship where I don't take the blame and I can try to blame them, maybe even do hurtful and unkind things, maybe so they do something that causes them mental conflict or other people mental conflict about them. Because if some people, if all they have to offer people is like their status and their image and their looks and their money, because they don't really do love, having that image and that status is very important. Regular old folks, I'm a fallible human being who makes mistakes. I am not so concerned about my ego or my image and how people view me because I know I offer people truth and love. My fallible human beingness can cause a ding in my armor, and that's okay, because I'm a fallible human being. And if I meet some people in the world where I have to look perfect and have had to make no mistakes, we're not on the same page, you might need to go find someone else. But for some of these people, they do try to present an illusion like they're this picture perfect person, but yet they hide their more shadowy nature from the world. And when they maybe make mistakes, they try to backstab other people to confuse people about the truth of who those people are, so that they can keep maintaining this illusion of who they are. But eventually people see through the illusion. There's other people in their life that probably reject the story that some of these people have tried to tell people. And though it causes them some mental conflict because they could love these people, have known these people since childhood or whatever, it's just that you're not who I thought you were, and you're much more immature or something. And some of those people are going to decide to move away from them too. Eventually people see through the illusion. The truth of people's foundation eventually rises to the surface. People who are materialistic can try to hide their materialistic, but eventually people see the truth. If people are more bossy, controlling, egotistical, self-centered, emotionally detached, cold, eventually, regardless of what fake, false masks they wear, eventually people can see through the truth. You can fool some of the people some of the time, but you can't fool all the people all the time. So everybody's kind of moving forward in relationships. High vibe people are listening to their intuition. They're working through their own fears and insecurities to not backstab and betray themselves, or backstab and betray the relationships they're in. They take the time to think about, how am I moving forward in life? What's driving and motivating me? What about the people I'm in a relationship with? Are we on the same page? Should I keep moving forward with these people, or should I let those people move on ahead? Maybe I need to take some time to recalibrate. And that's what high vibe people do. And more shadowy people always could have a lot of mental conflict because they want to look like they have a certain status or image, or have people view them a certain way, so they could get themselves into situations that end up causing them a lot of mental conflict, because they make decisions more out of fear, insecurity, instability, lust, greed. I haven't learned to feel stable and grounded and balanced within myself. I have to get in a relationship in order to feel that way. I'm going to hide that I maybe don't even want to be in this relationship. But because I don't want to deal with these issues, and I haven't been illuminated to the truth, I think this is the answer. So this is what I'm going to invest in. And it could be a way of coping that they keep doing over and over and over, and it ends up in the same result. Other people repeat patterns over and over. We all do. Eventually it causes us so much mental conflict. It's like, I have got to work through this because I don't want this to keep happening over and over. I want to free myself. And they do this inner work to deal with the truth of it, to get out of their illusions. And then they move forward in life differently. And some people don't. So there you go, Libra. I wish you peace, love, and joy. And we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.